What is up, guys? Laros here. I'm a 3500 XP multi-rank 1 warrior, and with Dragonflight finally here, I want to make a quick little guide for you guys covering some of the basics for Fury Warrior going to the new expansion. I'm going to timestamp the video, so feel free to jump around to the information you need, and let's get right into it. First things first, let's cover racials. With the nerf to Orc racial, by thereof this new passive given to the PvP trinkets, 10% CC reduction across the board, and we'll be getting another 5 to 10% from professions. Orc is no longer the best race for every single class in the game, which I think is a really good, positive change. The two races I think are going to be the best for Warrior are going to be Dark Iron Dwarf. So you can remove those Vendettas, those Feral Frenzies, and I think Dark Iron can actually remove magic things as well too. So maybe Lock, Soul Rot, things like that. Night Elf is always one of the best PvP races in the game because of Shadow Meld. You can Shadow Meld almost any ability, Blind, Kidney Shot, Disarm, things like that. With the removal of Bladestorm for Fury, this gets a lot more value now for trying to meld disarms and keep your damage rolling, as well as maybe getting a huge meld on a Kidney Go when you don't have a trinket and saving the game. Let's cover a little bit of the talents that we're going to see. So I think the number one build we're going to see at the beginning of the expansion is this Annihilator build. Pretty much removes Raging Blow and makes it so it amplifies our auto attacks now, and we just spam Bloodthirst and Rampage. So we'll start on the left side of the tree here under the warrior. We'll go through some of the basics. Piercing Howl and Berserker Shout. So with the addition of Berserker Shout, warriors pretty much have a Tremor Totem now on a 1-minute cooldown, 12-yard range. Into some matchups, I'm definitely going to be playing this if I'm not playing Turbo Cleave. Going down a little further here, Shattering Throw and Wrecking Throw. I will be dropping Pain and Gain if I need to shatter bubbles and things like that. In my chat, I get a lot of questions about Bitter Immunity and why I don't take it. The first iteration of this ability on beta initially removed bleeds. Now it doesn't. The 20% is affected by dampening and mortal strikes and stuff. So I feel it just doesn't heal for as much as you think it would. So I don't waste a talent point on this. We go down to Avatar. We take Titan's Torment. And of course we take Spear of Bastion. You guys know I love Spear if you watch my stream. I almost never hit my spears, but it is a fun ability. They did nerf it by 2 seconds now. So it is 6 seconds on a 1.5-minute cooldown. Which is a slight change as to Shadowlands, where it was about a 1-minute cooldown and reduced with your conduits. Going over to the Fury side here, you see we don't take any of the Raging talents. I don't take Improve to Execute with this build. Execute doesn't really do damage. We have to take Sudden Death here to get into Cruelty, because Cruelty buffs our Annihilator by 10%. Going down, War Paint, obviously, 10% damage reduction across the board while we're enraged. We're almost always enraged, but this is a hugely good talent. Invigorating Fury is a must, obviously. And then we take Odin's Fury. I take Dancing Blades here. Since we're pretty much an auto attack build, this amplifies it a lot after we Odin's Fury. Reckless Abandon is still really good. You'll notice that when I do a DPS rotation, I almost always have Reckless Abandon up. So this is almost always a Blood Rush. The other build we'll see a little bit played is a Spear Ravager build. Because Spear is a 1.5 and Ravager is a 1.5, they line up nicely for big burst. So in Arena, you would Spear, you would drop your Ravager, and then as you can see here, I'm getting the stacking strength buff up to 30%, which is a lot of strength. You blow all your cooldowns, and you start doing crazy damage. And with this build, you are Raging Blowing and not Bloodthirsting. So to talk a little bit about PvP talents, we're definitely going to want to spec into Slaughterhouse. This is the most important role of a Fury Warrior, to keep that huge mortal strike up as long as you can. Some other talents to think about swapping between Warbringer. With the addition of Double Time in the tree, this gives Warbringer crazy value all the time. It's a lot of consistent damage, and you can line up a lot of big bursts with this and land some kills. Blood Rage removes you from roots. This is really useful into like mages, shamans, things that are going to try to root you a lot. Battle Trance is a little harder to proc with the Annihilator build. It's still a good option in 2v2, and if people are training you a lot, I would probably play this in place of Warbringer or Blood Rage, depending on the matchup. Disarm, obviously, into things like Rogue RMP. You're going to need to disrupt those goes, disarm that big damage, so into RMP I would probably drop Warbringer. I would play Disarm, Slaughterhouse, Blood Rage for that mobility. The added Rebound, I don't think we'll see much play. We just have simply better talents to take. And during Rage, you don't really need... because if you're keeping your Slaughterhouse stacks up, you won't really be dropping out of Enrage that much at all. Death Wish, kind of a meme. No one really plays this. You just die too fast. Master and Commander, I would say isn't the best. And other than that, that's pretty much what we'll be using. Death Sentence, with the Annihilator build, the Execute doesn't do much damage at all. In Dragonflight, or in Shadowlands, this wasn't the worst PvP talent, but now I don't think it's very good with how weak Execute is playing the Annihilator build. In this Spear Ravager build, it could be a little better, but I think these talents baseline are just better options. So let's get into a couple of my macros. Warrior doesn't take too many macros these days, but a couple of my basic ones. I don't necessarily recommend this, but I macro Charge and Hamstring together. Hamstring can only be used in melee range, and Charge has a minimum range. So if you press Charge on someone who's in melee range of you, it's not going to charge them, it's just going to hamstring them. I don't necessarily recommend this. You can get into some sticky situations where people are running away from you and you're trying to hamstring them, and maybe you accidentally charge them. It's just something I got used to a really long time ago to save a keybind, and it's just how I play now. Cancel Aura Bladestorm is in almost all my buttons. Fury doesn't have Bladestorm anymore, so you don't really need this. Let's go down the list here. So, exclamation mark Battle Stance. This is the same thing here with Berserker Stance. Putting exclamation mark in front of it makes it so when you double tap the button, it doesn't drop you out of your stance. This is really important for when you hit D-stance and you double tap it. Generally, if you double tap this button, it's going to knock you out of your stance and then put you on a cooldown where you can't get back in your stance, so it's really clunky. Like, look, I'll bind it here. I'll hit all three, but I hit it twice, so now I have no stance and I can't get back in for 3 seconds. So putting exclamation marks stops you from switching out of the stance. I add that into all my stances: Battle Stance, Berserker Stance, D-stance. Just have a little more control, and in those high pressure situations, you're not accidentally switching out. Going to my Intervene macros. I generally just put the player's name, target equals when I'm playing threes. I have a healer one and a DPS one. Cancel Aura Bladestorm for when I play arms. Fear doesn't have Bladestorm anymore, so we don't really need this. Most of my other macros are just basic focus macros. So Focus Pummel, Focus Fear. So this is exclamation mark Heroic Leap. So what this does is when you try to Heroic Leap, and say you overshoot it, and you can't reach where you're trying to go to, and you click, well, it might cancel and drop this little circle, drop your template for where you want to go. But if you put exclamation mark, it'll just keep it, so you don't have to press Heroic Leap again and aim again. You can just use Heroic Leap as soon as it's available to be used. If you put this in a macro, you'll see what I mean. It's pretty useful. Other macros: Focus Stormbolt, Focus Charge with Focus Hamstring. This is a really important macro, but this is pretty much my heroic throw, as well as Cancel or a Blessing of Protection. There's certain circumstances where your pally will bop you out of a rogue stun maybe, but you don't want the mage to spell steal your bop. So this is a really important macro to cancel your bop. This is Cancel Freedom. Same thing, mages will try to spell steal your freedom when your pally freedoms you out of a nova, and you really want to deny that because you'll have a tough time sticking on a mage with freedom. Cancel Aura Sweeping Strikes. So say your teammate lands a hex. If you're playing turbo, he lands a hex on a target beside you, and you don't want to break that hex. You cancel your sweep. Like I said, all my macros can be found over in my Discord, and I'll link to that down below. So let's talk a little bit about Fury's role in the arena. In Shadowlands and Dragonflight, they added Slaughterhouse, which is a huge mortal strike. Adds up to about 40%. So it's one of the strongest MSs in the game, aside from Sharpened Blade, but that has a cooldown. So in the arena, Fury doesn't have much utility. You're pretty much just a damage bot. So the whole time you want to really focus on keeping up your Slaughterhouse stacks. That's your #1 priority, and doing as much damage as humanly possible. Before, it was really important to use Bladestorm to shut down their stoppage on your cooldowns, but now we don't really have that. So that's kind of why I like Night Elf. You know, I blow all my cooldowns, I start ramping up, and maybe they want to disarm me or kidney me, coil me, peel me off in any way, and now I can attempt to meld that disarm. And then just keep my 8 stacks up. And that's really all you want to do on Fury. Unfortunately, the skill cap isn't very high with how Blizzard's designed this class, this expansion. Obviously, you have basic things like Fear to disrupt goes. and intervene to save your teammates. But other than that, you really just want to keep up that slaughterhouse stack the whole time. Blizzard did add a new talent for all casters, where if you miss a kick on them, so if you miss pummel, they fake you, they get CC immunity and haste for 4 seconds. So landing your kicks is really important. I would really recommend holding your kicks to the end of their cast. Sometimes the most powerful thing is not kicking at all. Just having the threat of that kick, you'll find you'll land a lot of kills on people who are just sitting there trying to fake you to death. They'll fall too far behind. Now they're 20% HP. They have to go for the cast, and you can definitely land it in that situation. Just need to keep up those 8 stacks and save your team when it is time to go. I wouldn't really recommend trinketing offensively. In Shadowlands, it was really important that you trinketed defensively and use your fear and intervene to save your teammates. But it's all situational. If you need to trinket for a kill, you need to trinket for a kill. Alright guys, that covers most of the basics for Fury Warrior and Dragonflight. If you have any questions, feel free to tune over to my stream at LaroCTV. I will be live a lot with the release of Dragonflight. Join the Discord also for frequently asked questions, or you can at me specifically, DM me, whatever you need to do. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment down below any questions, and I'll see you guys in Dragonflight. Peace!